Welcome to the Wax Audio Show. In 2004, Warner Brothers hired record producer, engineer, and Van Halen aficionado Brian Kehew to trawl through their vaults and put together a compilation of previously unreleased Van Halen material. It was to be an historical retrospective of demos, outtakes, and alternate versions of songs recorded during Van Halen's years at Sunset Sound Recorders from 1977 to 1982, lovingly remixed and packaged for an official release. Kehew assembled enough material for a 4-CD box set, and millions of fans were about to be graced with hours of previously unreleased Van Halen studio recordings from the classic Van Halen lineup. That is, until the band got involved.
We handed it in at the time Sammy was in the group.
That's Brian Kehew.
So it was bad timing to promote anything with Dave. When Sammy was in, it was a big love fest, and Dave was out.
They decided it wasn't a good time to release an anthology glorifying the David Lee Roth era.
It was not a time to promote the past and the old stuff.
So the project was scrapped, and the tapes were returned to the Warner Brothers vault, where they remain unheard to this day. In a career spanning over 40 years, Van Halen released 12 studio albums. No compilations of rare tracks, no outtakes, no B-sides, no unearthed demos. Just the albums. Even as one by one, every other major band succumbed to the allure of easy cash for whatever scraps they could salvage from the cutting room floor, Van Halen stayed true to their creed. Only the good stuff gets released. And so the mystique surrounding Van Halen's unreleased archives has grown. Back in the 80s and early 90s, fans absorbed every book and magazine article, bought every bootleg they could afford, and sometimes stumbled across the unmistakable sound of Eddie Van Halen's guitar in the most unexpected of places.
I am an extraterrestrial from the planet Vulcan.
And then, something incredible happened.
Tonight, the information superhighway and one of its main thoroughfares, an online network called Internet.
The days of handing over half of your week's salary for a bootleg were over. Woo! You want to hear Van Halen's 1976 demos? Type it in the search box and press play. How about a soundboard recording of Van Halen performing at Pasadena High School in '75? Would you like the one recorded in February or April? And that soundtrack project Eddie talked about in Guitar World? You get the idea. So whilst the official vaults remain locked, the internet is awash with more rare and unreleased Van Halen material than most present-day Van Halen fans will ever have time to sit through. It's overwhelming. Where the hell do you start? Well, you can start right here. So sit back, get comfortable, crack open a Schlitz malt liquor as we bring you episode 4 of the Wax Audio Show, Van Halen, Rare and Unreleased. We heard in the intro of the show about the aborted box set of previously unreleased material that Warner Brothers planned to put out in 2004. It would have been the motherload of content discovered in their archives. But of course, there's another untapped reserve of unreleased Van Halen content that many fans are very curious to hear anything from. That's the tape archive in Eddie Van Halen's very own 5150 Studios.
Yeah, I think every Van Halen fan looks at the photos that you can see online, the walls and walls of tapes in 5150 volts, and wonders what's on there. And my God, there must just be an absolute wealth of material.
And look, that stuff truly is under lock and key. That's the Holy Grail for Van Halen fans. We don't know what's in there. And apart from speculation and a little bit of hearsay, there's not much that we can confirm. There's nothing that I can play.
No.
But that's just one source of unreleased Van Halen material. So that's probably the big one. Like I said, that's the Holy Grail.
This used to be just a tape storage room. And, well, see all those tapes, especially the numbered ones. Those are all music that I've written since I built the studio. With Don Landy, who we did 8 records with.
Right.
We had a Radio Shack computer. And we ended up numbering everything, punch it up on the computer, and tell me what was on it. Well, the computer took a dump on us. We even took it to used laboratories to see if, research laboratories, see if they get anything off the hard drive, and nothing.
So all this stuff is waiting to be archived by somebody?
Yeah, and the only person that can do that is me, because nobody knows what I like.
But it's some dream job for somebody to sit in a room and spend the next year and a half listening to your music.
I mean, there's so much stuff there. One day I just grabbed the ladder and went up there and put it on. And it was Right Now. And it was labeled 1983.
Which is when you wrote it, the music.
Yeah, actually before John.
Obviously, Wolfgang Van Halen, he's released his own album and he's been doing an incredible amount of press. Early on, 2 of the big ones were Howard Stern and Eddie Trunk. And in those interviews, he does talk about the 5150 volts and really sounds like he's in absolutely no hurry to start going through it. You know, he pushes back on this idea that he's going to be the gatekeeper of Van Halen material. And he actually straight out says, look, Al owns it all now. It's entirely up to him. And, you know, he would work with Al on something, but he says, yeah, it won't happen for years. Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, listening to those interviews and seeing what Wolfgang said over the period since his dad died and the little understanding I have of Alex Van Halen, I would not be surprised if we never hear any of it.
Despite releasing a new album in February, they are planning to work on some new music and maybe listen to some old tunes in their tape vault for inspiration.
This is actually where we drew a lot of the demos out.
There's a lot of music up there. One of these days, I gotta, the tapes have been sitting for so long, you have to bake them to make the adhesive go back into the tape. I always kind of thought it was just easier to write a new song than
dig through all the old ones.
Do that. But there's a lot of music up there that's waiting to be heard.
It's endless, but there's a lot of music in here that's endless too.
And here.
Let's talk about Eddie Van Halen's passing. I'll get your thoughts in a minute. I just wanted to say that I feel like it's one of those landmark deaths in rock history, up there with John Lennon and Freddie Mercury. And I know it's really hard to be objective when you're at the center of Van Halen fandom and you've got these algorithms on the internet feeding you your daily information that's, specifically tailored to your interests. But I've worked in the media for a while. I've covered a lot of celebrity deaths. And I feel like in the music world, there was a shockwave sent through it after Van Halen's passing, because I think his death represents the passing of an era. We grew up when guitar gods ruled the earth. And whilst that era has laid dormant for years, I feel like now it's officially been put to rest. It's now history.
Oh, say it isn't so.
Not saying anything that hasn't been said a million times, but to me and to so many others, Eddie Van Halen was a musical genius, the most important rock guitar innovator after Hendrix, but equally important, his songwriting and specifically his riff writing. His music has brought so much joy to millions of people around the world. And despite a really turbulent life that he led, his ultimate legacy is the joy that he's brought to people and spreading happiness to people. Long live the king. Over to you.
Absolutely, the joy. When you talk about the joy of the fans, and I think people talk about Eddie's guitar playing, but the joyful image that Eddie presented while playing and living his rock and roll life, which was not a pretense. You can tell from when he died, so many rock stars just went, man, that guy was such a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And when things were going well for Eddie and the band, the pleasure that he got from playing and the fun, good times that Eddie exuded was such a big part of Van Halen, just as big as the awesome presence that David Lee Roth gave to Van Halen, the party good times. Eddie just gave that big, warm grin that matched his brown sound. So his joie de vivre, the expression, his zest for music and rock and life just really came through in his kind of image. And that really gets hold of kids before even the music. It's like, man, I want a fucking t-shirt with dice on it and a pair of jeans with colored patches on them and a smile like that. That is good times, man.
Yeah, I'm nodding away here. I think that's such a big part of Eddie. It was the huge warm grin. It's so infectious. He was enjoying himself so much and it just made you enjoy it even more.
His death has sparked a massive conversation about the legacy of Van Halen that has been absent for a long time. All of the people in the world like me and you and anyone who's listening who loves Van Halen and all of the musicians that have played with him and known him, all those conversations have started up about, hey man, we've got to fucking talk about what this means to us and what this meant to music and what this has given us. And that's been so wonderful, Tom, that all of these conversations have started up. Eddie's death has kind of provided this full stop to the story that's been petering out for a long time, where fans can now talk about the whole story. Now that Eddie's dead, we can all talk about how much fucking fun Van Halen is. You know, I wrote the logo on my pencil cases. I wrote the logo on my shoes. I scratched the logo into the desk. I spray painted the fucking logo onto the school walls. I loved that band so much then, and I love it so much today. And that band has given me so much joy. And I share that joy also with you, Tom, and a number of our other friends as well. So I just fucking love Van Halen the same way that so many other people out there. So I'm so excited to talk about them today. That's how much I love Van Halen.